Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tony.
How are you guys
Afternoon.
doing today?
Good.
Good. So we have Levi here today. He's the chair for the We the People National Party. And we wanted to bring him in to talk about We the People and about some of the issues going on in Washington State. Levi, how are you?
Good. Glad to be here. Glad to talk about Washington. It's an important state. There's a lot going on, especially with these ID laws.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what I'd like you to talk about first and foremost is what sets we the people apart from not just Republicans and Democrats, but from all other political organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're bottom up. All the others are typically top down in their decision-making trees and how they select candidates, how they select issues, even their budget. And what we try to do is take all that power and put it in the hands of every single member. And by doing that, we allow for us to work with a diverse coalition of people, from Greens, Libertarians, more constitutionalists to left, right. It doesn't matter. It's about serving the people to make sure our candidates actually represent the top 5 issues of their city, of their neighborhood, of their state, right? Because for so long, everything has come from DC. Every major decision, every candidate, everything we are supposed to focus on. And that's why, things like these digital ID laws, these state ID, voter registration laws have all passed through because we're so laser focused on DC, typically, and all these other parties, that we don't get to focus on these local issues. And so that's what we're hoping to do with the people, is to focus on local and state races, to run ordinary Americans and get them into office so that we can have real change on issues ranging from roads, schools, to hospitals, water boards, school boards, anything that actually affects our day-to-day lives.
Absolutely. Michael, did we want to talk about the voter ID law that's going through, or that they've got an initiative for going through here?
Yeah, so the voter ID law here in Washington State was just, to make sure people are citizens when they go to vote, right? There's a lot of speculations around how many people who are voting who are not, citizens. So I think that's all that was about.
Yeah, in Oregon, we got a new congressional district during COVID, right? So the number of people makes a huge difference in what your representatives are, what is the actual makeup of the Congress or the House. And so it's important to know the right number of people. It's also to make sure that on local issues, we focus on this all the time when we run candidates. We say, hey, these local races, you can win by 100 votes, a couple dozen votes. So to making sure that those are actually members of the community being represented and that it's all legal can make profound effects on mayoral races, governor races, school board races. And so, yeah, making sure that everybody is actually a citizen and that we're all in this system together, as opposed to, it could be anybody really, and from other states too, right? Like if you're from a less populous state, you can have a couple busloads of people come over and change a mayoral race in a big city, right? And so that's the kind of politics we're talking about. We want to make sure we're representing we the people. And in order to do that, you have to sometimes check their ID because otherwise, how do you know it's not a corporation or a lobby group just filling up 12 busloads of people and sending them over because they don't like a policy?
Right. I know here in Washington State, they are giving IDs to people, to everyone. And if you're undocumented, you can go get a free ID in a lot of cases. And with that, they register you to vote. Now, I haven't seen exactly how that mechanism works. By what I've been told by the Secretary of State is that you get your ID and you have to uncheck that you're not legal to vote. And so it's automatically checked yes. And so when I'm talking to them, I'm like, well, what is the mechanism to say they're not a citizen? And well, it's illegal. It's a federal offense. I'm like, okay, so how do you know? How do you know who's filling those things out? And they don't. So it's always interesting to me to see that one side wants to push the fact that, it's illegal, so nobody would do that. And, so we know that it's very few people that are illegal voting. And then you have the other side saying that we have these hundreds of thousands of people voting that are illegal, when there's no actual way that I have found to actually confirm either one. And so both of them basically are blowing smoke up our asses, trying to pit us against each other, when we just need to figure out how to, come to, how to make it so that we have just citizens voting, and require that we're doing that by showing a birth certificate or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this has been an issue since the olden days, right? When democracy was in Greece and they had to try to make sure people were voting and they weren't rigging the votes. Like, this has been an issue for a very, very long time, because if something's based on the population voting, you have to make sure it's your population, not of another city state. So this has been around for thousands of years. However, we have such a simple solution nowadays, either a passport or driver's license. There's so many, like, in order to get on Twitter, you have to show, or on X, you have to show your ID. So that means in order to get, so for a teenager or somebody in their 20s to get online and to tweet, it's more than the thing that controls trillions of dollars at the local and state level. Like, I don't know. I feel like there should probably be a higher bar.
For me to be able to advertise on Facebook, I had to go get an affidavit signed by the bank saying who I am. I mean, like, to advertise on Facebook. Like, but we don't require citizenship proof for voting. Like, okay. The hoops are so insane. Oh, Levi, you're still muted. It shows you're not muted, but we cannot hear you. Michael, you can't hear him, right? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it just froze. But yeah. But no, I mean, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a reform we can do at a party level. So in all 50 states, we can require our members who voted in local and state elections to be verified. Because within a party, we also want to make sure that a bunch of Democrats or Republicans don't join and try to throw our election one way or the other, because all our members vote for all the issues, and it's binding, and it's our main way of voting. So we also want to make sure our members are verified. So as far as our candidates go, that's one of the reforms we can do, along with the anti-corruption, along with Citizens United. These are all things we can do within parties, because we don't have to run it by Democrats or Republican administrations at the state level in order to get it done. We can just do it. We just make it a value and do it. So that's another benefit of joining with the people, is that when people vote, it's a real person in your community, right? And so and that also means our polls are more meaningful, because that's what people don't talk about, is they also use these unregistered people in a lot of polls. So if they want to skew a data or a fact or how well a politician's doing, they can target certain zip codes of a city and reliably get huge numbers of people who are unregistered voters. So this has been used to skew the perception of what's going on in California. I'm saying, if someone goes, hey, we want to do a voter ID thing in California, they just have to go to the wrong zip code in LA, and they'll get a huge percentage of people who would not benefit from that reform. Right. And so they can skew the results, right, by cutting out the vast majority of the population. So we don't want that. We want actual taxpayers to be represented in the money that they spend. Our whole idea is about bringing money back to the people. So and I think that there are some initiatives going on, right? Do you guys want to cover it all, some of the initiatives that are currently going on in Washington?
Yeah. So, well, there was a poll that I noticed. That's how this kind of came up today. They were talking about an initiative right now that somebody's put together to require citizenship to vote. And let me see here. the poll was interesting to me because it's 87% of the people say yes, we should require citizenship to vote. And I just, everybody thinks that we're so, left leaning in this state, but every poll that I've seen recently from like Como, when they're doing it and they've got thousands of people voting, it's like it's against everything that they're doing. So 87% of the people think that we should have voter IDs of the almost 7,000 people who have voted, and 12% say no. I mean, so, nobody in the state is actually listening to the people when you look at this kind of stuff.
You mean to say that the Democrat Party is not representing the average voter? Who knew? You mean they're not popular? Like they're not actually governing by what's popular? Yeah, no, that's an issue in every state. Yeah, for sure. And it's something that we can come together on across independent, left, right. Everybody can kind of agree on this. Like if you're a taxpayer, you go to work, you have to pay those taxes. You want to make sure that it's going to where you're actually voting, and you can't do that if you have hundreds of thousands, millions of people voting in a different way or in an unregistered way. It just leaves the door open, because if you can't like I said earlier, if you can't verify it's a person, how do you know it's not a corporation or a bunch of bots? Like how do you know? Like a lot of these are digital, and so like it just opens the door to not being able to check a digital paper trail. Right. And so, because if you can't verify, there's no ID, then you trace down that vote. Where does it end? It doesn't end with like a verifiable human being. So like it makes it incredibly easy to hack or manipulate elections. And even if it doesn't happen right now, what about in 5 years? What about in 10 years? As AI gets better at pretending to be us, 20 years, 30 years, like this is not sustainable. We have to tie it to a human being. I mean, we already have a problem with AI avatars. You know how easy it is to fake a photo? Like I can generate that in a couple seconds right now, ChatGPT. So if like a teenager making ChatGPT photos can fool an election board, like I feel like we need a more robust system.
Right, for sure. I agree. I'm curious what you think about, because part of it is that it would, and I don't think that it's the only way, but an enhanced driver's license is what it's recommending, right? The real IDs, which I'm refusing to get. But
yeah,
what are your
digital,
thoughts on those?
Digital ID and mass surveillance is not the solution. This is the same bullshit thing they're doing in the UK, where they're pretending that it's about immigration in order to roll out their digital ID requirements for all the people, the citizens who want to work, right? Mm-hmm. Keir Starmer, I believe, he literally said that. He said, if you want to work in the UK, you have to get a digital ID, which ties to your social media, your health care, your taxes. That is too much power for any one politician. That's crazy. It's great. The government's inefficient, but sometimes that's a good thing if your information's in different silos and one person, looking at the county office can't just pull up your entire life and then play with it. That's a level of centralization of data that's not appropriate. We can do this with just real driver's licenses. Like you don't need a real ID. They're just trying to use this like one problem to make a bigger problem. They're like, how about a global mass surveillance state to solve your Washington ID problem? It's like, I feel like we could just use normal, just state driver's licenses or passports.
Right? Like passport, your birth certificate.
Yeah, Michael's a libertarian. I'm sure he could speak on this issue of surveillance and his love for it.
Yeah, we definitely don't need it. We don't need any more of it. The things that we should be surveilling are the politicians. How come we don't have live streams from every, congressman's office? We should be able to see what these lobbyists are saying to the congressmen and senators. Mm-hmm. That's transparency.
We have an informal process of doing that. It's called Epstein. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got cameras on all of them, apparently. No, I'm just joking. But we just have it offsite. But no, I get what you're saying. And if you're in a public building, yeah, I mean, there's a good case for that. And also, where is our identification for the money? Like if there was a way of tracking money, like there was for people, we might actually have a lot less corruption in our states and a lot more money at the local level. If we could actually track where these dollars are. Like if you gave money in and you could actually see where it went. Can you imagine if you actually saw where your taxpayer money went? A couple missiles in Syria and a couple funding a couple of big data centers in the southern part of the state. And so, no, I mean, it's all about priorities. If your priority is your citizens voting, which I think we all agree is important, we need to use physical IDs, traditional forms of IDs. And then just, it was working up until a few years ago. I mean, it wasn't a technological change. It's not that they figured out how to look at a driver's license. What changed is their priorities. They wanted it to be, obfuscated and difficult and complicated. And they wanted us to try to say, oh, no, what we need is a digital ID surveillance system in order to solve it. And the whole thing is, they're on both accounts is untrue. What we need to do is go back to basics and just check physical IDs. And that's it. I mean, and I think that, are they trying to accommodate mail-in voting with this mechanism? Is that the ploy there? Because there's physical in-person voting, right, which you can check an ID, but then if it's a mail-in vote, how would you check?
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of mail-in voting. So that's all we have in Washington State is mail-in voting. So they are trying to get rid of that. People have to, show their ID to vote. So, because there seems to be a lot of corruption with the mail-in voting process. So
you're saying a thing where you get an anonymous thing in your mail and you're not sure if the person has moved or still lives there and they don't have to show an ID to use the ballot is a corruptible system?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Yeah, who knew? Just sending out random letters with no confirmation. Like, you can't even do that with a bank letter. Like, geez, you guys, like, there's got to be some way of doing this. Like, think about like private enterprise. They've already resolved this issue. How many pieces of mail, like you get a credit card in the mail, kind of like a voter ID or a ballot. They have a way of two-factoring or checking that it's you before they activate it and let you start spending money, right? Like you have to call into another. Like there can be ways that like you can just quickly two-factor a ballot form to make sure it's you, right? They can have you register online with your physical ID, and then you just type in that number when you get the physical form. You write on your form, whatever number, and that's it. And then it's tied to a real ID, and it doesn't require digital surveillance. It's just requires you to write down like 4 numbers. There's a lot of just simple ways around this.
They're too simple, and there's no money to be made.
You're right. We should maybe have Arby's logos on them on the ballots, and then we can have like little spaces for like Walmart and commercial advertising, and then like your democracy sponsored by McDonald's. These are great ideas, guys. Come on, maybe Palantir. We could look for Palantir perhaps as a donor. There's all these like, wouldn't that be ironic? Getting the non-surveillance thing sponsored by Palantir, that'd be hilarious. That'd be so DC. So yeah, no, absolutely. So what is the solution? Is this a state level decision that was made at the state Congress, and then we have to have a popular ballot to reform it?
No, so they're trying to gather signatures for it to go on the ballot for the people to vote on.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it makes it that far, it seems like it would pass, considering, if that, that small group of people that on the COMA website is any indication, that it would pass no problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very likely Americans won't vote against their own interests. I don't think most people would see that and go, I mean, if you think about, usually they promise us something good and then trick us. They don't tell us they're going to do the opposite. Yeah. And so I think if it's that clear of a choice, I think it should be fine. And but that makes sense. So you're just trying to get on the ballot and get the majority of people vote, and then it should be reformed, hopefully. The only problem is I worry that the ballot in the current initiative does not include not using real ID. Does it currently use real ID?
No. Like to register to vote?
No, on the ballot. So they're going around collecting signatures for the language of the ballot.
Yeah, I was reading through it, and it mentions enhanced more than anything, but it does show, that you could use passport and,
Yeah.
those
So the
types of
Republic,
things. But to me, it seems like it would be pushing, the enhanced IDs, the real IDs.
yeah.
And so that is always a concern when I see that.
Well, the Republicans are funding this initiative, right? So the Republican donors, who are also the same people rolling out all the digital surveillance programs right now and putting Palantir as the most funded database to surveil Americans, converting over a lot of private intelligence to Palantir, converting over a lot of our healthcare databases. Like, these are the people pushing digital surveillance at a massive scale. And so what they could be doing is like this fake left-right divide, where they're like, oh, they're trying to help the illegals, so we're going to use mass surveillance to counteract their, like, it's just another one you know what I'm saying? Like, so like their initiative is digital surveillance, and the other one wants to inflate the numbers, for so like it's both sides are bad kind of scenario. Right. Like, what we need is just using normal ID, not real ID, just normal ID, not a digital surveillance ID. Because that's the thing, is if you read the ballot language, I'd be interested to see what it says. I want to check it out, because they usually hide in the fine print. It's kind of like when you pass a bill in Congress, they put on riders like at the end of it that have nothing to do with the language of the bill that sounds nice. And so I think that's usually used in ballots as well. And so that's why like some of the ranked choice stuff got shot down, because some of the biggest donors in the country suddenly wanted voting reform, and they're the ones in power. So like, why would the people with all the money and power be doing a reform? And then you read it, and it's like the way they've changed it in the language will actually give them, a one state voting setup. So we just have to look at the interests, and then try to support it as best we can. And because, I don't think any of us benefit from Washington not having IDs when you vote, right? Like, long term, that's going to hurt us, especially as a third party, because we're the ones where they cheat the most. And so, like, yeah,
I agree. What do you think, Michael? You got anything else that you want to ask Levi?
Sorry, I've got a lot of construction noise right now in the background. So,
sorry.
Yeah, any exciting stuff going on in other states right now?
Yeah, no, I just got off the phone. I was talking to we're getting a bunch of calls from reporters in a couple states. Politico is going to get a nice hit piece out on me tomorrow, I think, in our party. We have a couple interviews coming out. We have Hawaii candidates at the local level around Honolulu and Oahu. We're wanting to run. They have like 17, 20 years experience. We have people in Florida that are quite interested in running. We have people, of course, the governor candidate in New York, Larry Sharp, who has matching funds 6-1. We're trying to set up with a couple other third parties a joint fundraising initiative for him and Thomas Massey. Like, hopefully that's just in the beginning works, and hopefully we can set something up, because having two candidates at a higher level that we could organize for will help galvanize down ballot candidates in those states. And in Oregon, we're trying to pretty soon approach some of the universities to get young people to run for local office. Because if you're in your 20s and 30s and you're in a political club, guess what? The Democrats aren't going to run you. The Republicans are not going to run you. You got to wait 20, 30 years. So if you're ambitious, you can come with us and we'll run you. You don't have to agree on everything. You just have to serve the people. Show the money, serve the people. If you do those two things, we'll run you. And the third thing is, open up your budget so we can see, where the choke points are and reform, and run new candidates after you. So we build and build on each other in every race. All boats rise with the current, basically. And we have great stuff going on all over. We have a few more chapters coming up, and that's about it. I was trying to think. Yeah, a few of the other things have to wait, but that's our announcements for now.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I want to remind everybody that you can join our newsletter. That's in the description, as well as the petition for against the West Coast Healthcare Alliance. And I guess that's about it. I hope everybody has a good afternoon. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Well, yeah, you can also go to WTPnational.com if you want to see our ballot and what's going on in other states. Yep.
Sorry, I'm terrible at that.
No worries. Okay. Thank you. It was
Thanks,
nice talking to you
Levi.
guys.
Bye.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.